I'm standing along our east property line right now, which is this stone wall here behind me. And along this wall, going back behind me toward the fields and toward the house, is a tractor trail. So I've got a tractor trail along this property line. I also have a tractor trail along the opposite property line, which again is bounded by a stone wall just like this one. But what I've wanted is to create a trail for the tractor that goes across through this wooded area. So right now, the only way to get from this side to the other side is to go all the way back up into the field, go over, and then go back down the other side. But there's a whole lot of space in the middle that isn't currently accessible except by foot. And even then, it's a pretty rough walk, bushwhacking through the regeneration. This was last logged in 2014. It's now 2024. We've got a lot of regeneration growing up. I want to be able to work out here, thin as needed, get firewood as needed, and do all of that, being able to get equipment out here. So over a few afternoons or evenings, I have worked through a path across the property. I've gone through using loppers to at least open up a foot trail at a minimum, and in some places I've opened up more than that. So now I've got the alignment across the property that I'm going to use. So right now I have the tractor up at the other end. That's the end that I'm going to be working on. This end is actually a little bit more developed. We'll kind of take a walk along the way between here and there, and I'll show you some of what's going on. And then we're going to get going on making this wide enough that we can get the tractor through. Coming from the east side, the first obstacle here is this little stream. This is the one place where there is some water almost all year. So I'm going to build some sort of simple basic bridge to get across this. I was thinking of just doing something with stones, but I actually think I'm going to take some timbers, lay them across, and then put a deck on there. Across the stream here, you can see we're coming up to one of the old skid roads. Now, I opted not to follow the skid roads for the alignment of my trail, and that's largely because I don't want to take out too much of this regeneration, but the other issue is there are big stumps out here, and then the skidder was very heavy and left some deep ruts in some places that would be difficult for the tractor to traverse. So I actually charted the alignment over this way through this undisturbed area where there was a lot less to cut, and there's almost kind of a natural opening. You can kind of see as I look straight ahead here. Here's the next skid road. We've got some pine blowdowns. We have some invasive Japanese barberry here. That's something I do want to get rid of, so a good reason to be out here. Now there is a stone wall here that I do need to cross, and then right here, this is a spot where there is water flow, but it's extremely seasonal. So in the spring, when the snow is melting, there'll be a little channel kind of coming down through here. But for now, it's perfectly dry. And going up there is where things get really dense. So here, it kind of feels like a jungle a little bit. This brushy stuff is a lot more dense. I do have a decent pathway through here, but right up there, pine regeneration gets thick. The regeneration is great through here, but can be a little bit dense to walk. Got a couple spots where we have blowdowns here. I'll have to cut that with the saw or push it with the bucket. But otherwise, most of this is sized such that I can drive right over it with the brush hog. So the tractor is right up there, and that's in that roadway or trail on the other side of the property. So the goal is going to be to get started with this, drive through with the brush hog and open this up. In my last video, I said a brush hog or a rotary cutter can give a decent cut in a field if the grass isn't too tall, generally about 1 foot to 1.5 feet. There are other tools that could be used to mow grass like that in the field and do a nicer job. However, coming out here into these small trees, that's a place where the brush hog is going to do just fine. My Woods BB60.30 has a 2-inch cut capacity, so it is well poised to be able to handle just about everything going up through this trail. Now, when you do go through thick material like this with a brush hog, you do need to proceed slowly, and it definitely sounds ferocious. However, the cutter can actually handle it just fine. So even though it sounds awful, the cutter is working well within its limits if we're cutting material that's less than 2 inches. This is quite something. We have some wild grapes here. I haven't actually encountered them in the woods before. This is the first spot where I need to get the chainsaw, and I'll cut that out of the way, and then there's some stuff up around the corner to cut out of the way too. I've reached the stone wall here. I'm going to start rolling some of these rocks out of the way as I can, and hopefully be able to get the height of the wall down such that we can drive on over it. way through. We got this little stream here behind me, and if we pivot around 180, the tractor is off up there. I'm going to head back to the other side, widening things up a little bit. And then I'll come through with those loppers and take off any little beech limbs or other limbs that are sticking in that otherwise hit you in the face. And we've got a tractor trail. Just need to make a crossing for this little stream.